before we even start this video, that's a little bit distracting, isn't it?
That's how we do things. That's how they roll at the Gordon Institute. As soon as you walk in the door, you get Mr. Anatomy chart over there.
See if you can keep concentrating even with this behind us.
Yeah. Enjoy the lesson. Hey, this is Coach Nick Tumminello. I'm coming to you live with my very good friend, Coach Jim Kielbaso. He just gave an incredible workshop. We're here at the Gordon Institute at the 5th Annual Athletic Development Conference. And Jim brought up some interesting points about corrective exercise versus, what would you say, athleticism or coaching. So why don't you take over a bit and tell them what you got.
Sure. Basically what I was talking about is a lot of people rush into corrective exercises when they see that someone's having trouble with a movement, or maybe their athleticism doesn't look real smooth, or their sprinting mechanics, maybe they're not getting their knees up high, or their feet are turned out, and they immediately think, well, there's got to be a corrective exercise that's going to change this. But a lot of times, instead of rushing into that corrective exercise, the kid or the athlete first needs to be taught how to do the movement, and then give them some time for them to learn that motor pattern. I really think that the nervous system is responsible for more athleticism problems than just corrective exercises. So instead of rushing into that, teach them how to do something properly first.
Absolutely, and piggybacking off of what he just said, I like to simplify things and classify things, and I really think what I'm about to say goes along with what you've been teaching. What I always say when I teach people about mobility and corrective exercise and things like that, first of all, every exercise is correction. You help someone lose a big gut that puts pressure on their back, that's correcting a lot of back problems. But you have to understand the difference between what the person's aware of doing versus what they're able to do. So for instance, what Jim is talking about, if I watch somebody squat and I see their knees buckle in, I'm not going to immediately assume that they're dysfunctional or they have all kinds of problems or they have restricted ankles, whatever. I'm going to say, okay, you see how your knees went in? Now see how I'm squatting with my knees out? Can you do that? And they might just hammer a perfect squat because they didn't know what a good squat was. Maybe they just don't know how to run. They don't have the awareness. So the whole, would you say that's about sum up what you're saying?
Absolutely, 100%. And that happens all the time. And you give somebody a corrective exercise, and all of a sudden you realize they can do what the correction was, but they still can't do the movement. So that's where they have to be taught.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't be so quick to judge and deem everyone dysfunctional and needing correction. Sometimes you got to be a coach. If you're a personal trainer, even though you're not called a coach, you're still a teacher. You have to teach, you have to coach. But don't always deem everybody dysfunctional and has problems. Sometimes just give them the ability. Make sure that before you decide to correct something, that they don't actually have the ability to do it first before you decide to try to correct it. Try to teach it right first, and if they still can't do it after you've taught it right, then maybe you look at other corrective means, or maybe referring out to a qualified therapist or someone to help you.
Make sure you give them enough time to practice the movement too, so that it feels kind of normal. A lot of people won't feel natural the very first time, so you have to give athletes practice time without too much. Like, don't get all up in their face and give them too much feedback.
Right.
Let them work through it, and they'll start to get a little bit better at it.
Cool. Well, tell them a little bit about yourself real quick, because I just gave you a quick intro, and then how should they get a hold of you? Because this guy is one of my favorite resources to learn from. He's one of the best coaches out there, believe me. So, pimp yourself a little bit.
Yeah, our training center, Total Performance, is basically it's outside of Detroit, Michigan, in a suburb. I've written a few books. I've got a new book that'll be out this fall. It'll be called Ultimate Speed and Agility. You can also go to ultimatespeeddevelopment.com to get my whole training program that includes a copy of my old book. It's got three DVDs and a 6-week speed training program. And then you can go to ultimatestrengthandconditioning.com, and that's where I write articles, and there's coaches from all over the country that have contributed either with interviews or articles, videos. Nick has done a great interview with us on ultimatestrengthandconditioning.com also. So you can find me a bunch of different ways.
Cool. Well, there you have it. Check out Jim's stuff. It'll definitely help you out.
Thanks.